cockatoo.
Cockatoo with you.
Yeah.
Think music. Yeah.
At any given moment, your ball can stop shining. So why every time
Lights
around
out.
core wire that's unwinding? It's more about the searching the secrets that you think you finding. And timing about defending your zone like Bud Ryan. Your passion is your passport to the Parthenon. To be born to go light is the path we on. Join us. Journey to the other side, where hormones and sweet chariots ride, where planet stars, comets and asteroids collide. I'm so far out that I enter the inside of the inner circle. My coat purple, I decode dreams and blow violet, drink tea just herbal. Instead of running on wheels like gerbil, a hamster, I dare you to break glass like a crack bong in Amster. Damn. Jean-Claude Van Damme, windmill, kick snare, 1-2 am. I clear two bus, flow like Hoover Dam. King Henry in your lobbies and reporters, haters and fans. I'm on cocky standing G-stars, gators with callous hands. Damn it, feeling like a man who can take pink party meat and spam and turn it into 5-star dinner. A winner since a beginner, she is all wrapped up in my tenor. I'm a 10, she the H2. Now we 20 proof when I'm in booth. 100 degrees Celsius true. Spit the slight gap too. Squeeze grapes, drink juice. Then we produce something sonically amazing when it's set loose. Reporting live from the other side dressed in wetsuits. Occultum, tall black, 5 spikes. The Cooper's no ho hum. 6 liters will move you fast when there's no dice.
Cockatoo, cockatoo, cockatoo with you.
Instead of chitter chatter, listen to the pitter patter of your cardiovascular. It shapes all the matter. The energy is singular and then it splits and scatters your dart to become the pitcher catcher in battle. I profess to know nothing, cause it's more I'm after. The reactor chose to step back and become the actor. The attitude and aptitude of an addict who fiend for God food. So please show gratitude, cause it elevate your altitude. A rap is packaged and bowed, then deliver it to you. My back is stronger, bowed, then give her this issue, do you? Wanna step inside this mad mind and maritime? For Pepperdine to Palestine, I handle mine. Then confide in confidant so we all can shine. Slow motion but show motion, nickels and dimes. Soon become the bag we refuse to lie supine. You shouldn't either, let's go grind till we out of time. And intertwine with the divine like a serpent wrapped around the shit I'm tree. So when I write my next rhymes, I do it only with my mind with no speaking. The word'll just vibrate the real that you seeking.
Think music.
Peace. Peace out in internet, television land on this Tuesday evening, January 14th, 2025. Can you believe that? 2025. Hope all is well with you all, if you all out there. Hope your week is getting off to a positive and productive start. Peace, Natasha in the house. Poetic Heart, peace. Natalia in the house, peace. You know how we do, impromptu. So this evening, I want to keep the series going where we're continuing our discussion around the shift of the nodal axis into Pisces and Virgo. And, you know, there's so many different facets to it. And so gives us more reflection we can have. So if the North Node is in Pisces, then it means what? South Node is in Virgo. And over, I don't know, I guess the last 7-8 years, the term manifestation has become really popular on the internet. Maybe maybe we should say over the last 17, 18 years. Because 2007 is when The Secret came out, that book. And so let's say over the last 18 years to be fair. But if we want to use that terminology, one of the things that even in my book I talk about is when it comes to that, what we think of as manifestation. What are we thinking of? We're thinking that we are intentionally creating something in the three-dimensional world, a reality. We're intentionally forming something solid, tangible in the three-dimensional world when we think of manifestation. And when I say solid, I don't mean literally it's got to be solid like this book. But when I say solid, I mean as something that is recognizable in the 3D world. So many times when we use that term manifestation, that's how it is coming from that perspective. Well, in my book, I talk about it, indeed, yeah, experience and be part of something that you are experiencing in what we call reality. In the book, I talk about how the what must always come before the how. And the word how is a very Virgoan word, because Virgo think physiologically. Virgo rules the gut. Virgo rules digestive system. And it's a very intricate system that works on details, because this is what protects our vessel. Oh boy. Uh-oh. I'm already. This gonna be a short one. I thought I was lit. Now I'm sitting down here talking and Virgo rules digestive system, the gut. So it's very rational in its operations, because it has to sift through all of this data that we give it. And what's the data? It's the food and liquids and whatever else we ingest. Virgo has to sift through that and has to make sense of it. All right. So Virgo, in those very rational processes, we could relate to the word how. My mother's a Virgo sun, Virgo moon. And if you tell her something, I got this idea, well, how you going to do that? How? And if you don't understand that is the nature of Virgo, it can be perceived as negative sometimes. But that is the sun and moon it would be an extreme expression of Virgo. You know, this the outward expression, and internally there's a need to figure out how things are done. Because this is part of Virgo's sense of service, to know how that this job is going to get done so I can make things right. And that has its place. But when it comes to something that is unseen and we want to make it seen, first we got to start with the what. And if we start with how, then the what will get crippled, because the how is secondary. The left brain, the rational, is secondary to the right. The right holds lens to the world of potential, where all things are possible at one time. That's what Pisces is. Pisces is everything is happening at the same time, because everything is within the same pool of potential. Pisces also teaches us that if you are down at the riverbank and something floats by, you're hungry, and let's say a school of fish comes swimming by. If you don't stick your net out and grab some of those fish, they don't belong to you. They will continue swimming up or downstream, whatever. And if somebody else is farther down the bank and they happen to stick their net in the water and catch them, you can't say they stole my fish. Just like what? So what is this analogy? You got an idea, you have a vision, and you think it's your idea and it's your vision, but it is not until you actually stick your net out there and grab it. Because these ideas belong to the collective. When you have a vision, an idea, it belongs to the collective unconscious. It is just that you had the right frequency at that time to tune in to that idea. But if you don't act on it, somebody else can tune in and take it. Pisces is all potential exists at one time. It's the great pool. And this is where we go and we cast our what. We cast what into the great pool of all potential. Pisces. Then, after we've done that, then Virgo kicks in and says, on earth as it is in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Virgo pulls it down into this realm so it can actually be realized and the dream can be cultivated. Virgo is a cultivator. Remember a few videos back, I said the purpose of life, of all this existence, is to cultivate wheat. Anytime we have that word cultivate, it's Virgo. And Virgo, the constellation, is associated with wheat, holding the I can't remember basically holding wheat, Bethlehem, house of bread. This is where Christ is supposed to be born in the story. All these things are coming back to wheat, cultivating the wheat. So I'm saying all that to say that with the North Node in Pisces, our attention is being focused on what would we see in our mind's eye? What's the vision? What's the idea? What's the creative thing or whatever that we see? That is where the focus is, as opposed to the over insistence on practicality. Now we're talking about an axis, so we know that It's always a trap to abandon one side of an axis and lean all the way over on the other. That's called falling prey to polarity, or the idea or perception of polarity, which is what we're supposed to be working to overcome in this realm. So we're not abandoning the processes of Virgo, but we're making sure that we have things aligned according to the pecking order. Where the North Node is showing us the pecking order. That first, we're focusing on the vision, the idea, the dream, the imagination, seeing things that are not seen yet in this realm, but we're seeing them in our mind's eye, which may be harder to do when you're in a world where you're being compacted by constant messages of fear, scarcity, uncertainty, and we keep getting these messages that are coming out about, oh, somebody's revealing this and this might happen on this date, and and which I have to make sure I'm careful about how I present information from an astrological standpoint, to where it does not just ever come across as doom and gloom and there's all hope is lost. We have to be careful how we present, how we forecast. But the reason I'm saying that is that it can be easy to fall in pure practical mode right now, pure survival mode. What we got to do to get the work done. We just got to get the work done, get the work done, get the work done. And so inundated with getting the work done that we don't have time to dream. And it sounds so juvenile, now sometimes you ain't got time for all that living in fantasy world, but you need to have some time for fantasy. Some time to delve in the world of illusion, of mystery, of imagination. Because if we lose that, then we become locked down. Every sign in that zodiacal wheel has a purpose. Every one of them got a purpose. Everyone can serve as a detriment, and at the same time can serve as a source of uplift. It's all in how we figure out how to integrate and use these energies. So with the North Node in Pisces, it's saying, hey, a reminder. Yes, sometimes we got to be a little delusional. Sometimes we have to kind of space out a little bit to allow us room to expand and not remain trapped. Okay, so I've talked for 20 minutes and I'm supposed to be reading. So the last conversation I read chapter 1 of The Hidden Messages in Water. And as we continue this journey exploring water, because there's such an emphasis, especially right now, on water, that we're moving in the second part is this book, Water, Pure and Simple. And I found this book years ago. I think I've had this book about 7-8 years. One of my more treasured books. and it just found it on a humbug. Something told me to go into the oceanic section at the bookstore. And I used to just go in and just go right to the metaphysics, and I would only look at the metaphysical stuff and etymology. That used to be all I would basically focus on. Then something told me that day, go over here to the oceanic section and stuff on I can't remember what they call that section in the bookstore, and found this treasure. This is a treasure. So this is written by actually MD Paolo Consigli. I'm assuming he's an Italian guy. So I want to read. I don't know if we're going to get, more than likely we're not going to get through all of chapter 1, but it's a great introduction. The whole, this is one of those books where you want to, I'm not a real cover to cover reader type person, but this is one right here that you want to eventually probably read all of, skip around and treat it like an encyclopedia, but it's just got a wealth of information in it. And I want to encourage people to read. You just can't imagine how valuable reading is. What it's doing to your mind when you're reading, it's making you focus your mind. And reading is actually allowing you to let the inner child out, because you have to hear a voice in your head. It incites your imagination. Because you are hearing yourself silently as you read. It's very therapeutic. It helps sharpen your mind. It helps you retain your memory. Memory loss is going to be something that's going to be really prevalent. There are already plans for heightened mental illness. They've been pushing it anyway. You know, celebrity talks about Charlemagne the God, talks about his anxiety. Everything is scripted, you know? And so what are ways that you can fortify your mind? Because this is the last battlefield. This is what wants to be colonized, because this will then give access to the soul. The soul is the ultimate, but you gain access to it through the mind and also through the blood. So this is why the food and all these other little tricks and things are so important. Okay, off the soapbox. Chapter 1, a unique and mysterious molecule. Our guide in this exploration of the multidimensional world of water is a man of whom very few will have heard, though in his own time, during the first half of the 20th century, he was known as the Wizard of Water. His name is Viktor Schauberger. Schauberger was born in 1885 in Hochsklad, Austria, near Lake Plackenstein, to a family descended from the Bavarian aristocracy. He was a naturalist and an inventor of rare perspicacity. Hold on now. Perspicacity. Excuse me. Rare perspicacity. Let me highlight that shit, because I'm going to have to go and look this word up. I don't even remember this. I'm sure I looked it up the first time I read this. This is how I learned new words like this. Perspicacity. Damn. Perspicacity. Who is to be credited with having identified and understood. So there's something about inventor of rare. So something about vision. Perspa. That's vision. Who is to be credited with having identified and understood many of the countless eccentricities and virtues of water. So, observer of water. As a boy, his stated dream was to become a forest warden like the majority of his ancestors, from whom he learned how to observe and to love nature. As a man, he did much more, combining experience with genius to devise extraordinarily original solutions for exploiting water's properties in agriculture, to invent efficient systems for transporting logs and freight down otherwise impassable rivers, and to design special machines for water purification. The First World War came to a close, and Schauberger finished forestry school, whereupon he was hired by Prince Adolf von Schomburg-Lippe to supervise a mountainous area in Bernera Steyerling. Some hellified shit in this one. Testing your reading skills in this one. It was here that he had the opportunity to observe in greater detail the movement of water courses and to consider their relationships with the specific flora and fauna that proliferated around them. The young Austrian quickly realized that there was little correspondence between what he had learned in forestry school and what he was seeing and learning through his own eyes. Ain't that interesting? He saw that what he had learned in school wasn't lining up with what he was seeing out in the field. Schauberger knew that water tended to flow more intensely in the colder hours and seasons. He liked to recall how his father, also a woodsman, would transport hundreds of thousands of cubic meters of beechwood logs down the river, but only at night and only when the full moon illuminates the river. Pay attention to that. Only when the full moon illuminates the river. The reason for water's greater efficiency at night, explained the father with a highly imaginative metaphor, is that the sun's rays make the water tired and lazy, so it curls up and sleeps. By night, however, the river awoke and was better able to sustain the weight of the lumber, even more so during a full moon. When I read stuff like this, I'm always reading into the metaphor as I'm reading this stuff. This thing can be applied in other areas. I just want to read it again. The reason for water's greater efficiency at night, explained the father with a high imaginative metaphor, is that the sun's rays make the water tired and lazy, so it curls up and sleeps. By night, however, the river awoke and was able to sustain the weight of the lumber, even more so during a full moon. Sometimes we have to steal away from the world. The mentioning of the sun, think about your expression. That's what the sun is in your chart. The natural vehicle of expression that you've chosen in this life. But the moon is the inner light. And so his father's identifying how at night the waters respond more positively for their efforts of moving lumber down the river. moving old, stagnant, emotional baggage down the river and out of you happens when we are in a state where the emotions are able to actually move and flow. When we're not having to put on airs and fronts for people. When we're able to be what we is. Yeah, I know the proper way to say that. This school administrator that was my parents knew, Miss Hazel Turner. She was from Mississippi, and she said her grandmother used to say, "Be what you is." So one winter's night, as Schauberger studied the movements of the clear mountain stream by the light of a full moon, he noticed another curious phenomenon. Certain oval-shaped stones, some of which were as large as a human skull, tumbled on the stream bed with a rhythmic motion, seeming to meet, then separate from one another, as if in a dance of alternating attraction and repulsion. Other stones tended instead to float towards the water's surface, as if drawn up by the moon. Angular or irregular shaped stones, on the other hand, did not move at all. Schauberger noted that the rhythmic motion overcame gravity, enabling the stones with a uniform shape to climb to the surface. More, oh boy, more metaphorical meaning to glean out of this. A constant emphasis on the moon, full moon. We just had a full moon yesterday. High emotional time with the full moon, period. But this full moon was in Cancer. And this full moon was being triggered by a conjunction with Mars, a debilitated Mars, and a Mars that is connected with Neptune. And so what emotions were coming up to the surface? And even if they didn't feel right, even if you're not proud of them, even if they're not the emotions that you particularly wanted, what were they telling you? And how could those emotions that came up and might still be bubbling up right now, what are they giving you a chance to move? Because here, this man has discovered that during a full moon, these huge, these trees they're trying to move, this lumber down this river, it agitates the water, as we've talked about. We've talked about how during a full moon, the emergency rooms are more active, the labor and delivery air department is more active, children are more active in school, first responders, accidents, all this type stuff. And here we have another reiteration of this with this recognition that this agitated state is conducive to moving lumber. It goes on to say that, as we know, if a liquid has a specific weight greater than that of an object immersed in it, the latter will float. Here's another one. If a liquid has a specific weight greater than that of an object immersed in it, the latter will float. A liquid's specific weight increases, however, when subjected to turbulent motion. You can easily see this for yourself by conducting this simple experiment at home. Fill an ample pot or pitcher with water and add an egg. Then stir the water with a spoon. The egg, of course, floats for as long as you continue to stir. The natural motion and low temperature of the stream that Schauberger observed helped concentrate the liquid so that the stones were made to float. So we have movement and we have low temperature. Now we already know it's full moon, so that naturally agitates. But so the movement and low temperature. Right now, we're in a space where the water collectively is boiling. And by the time we get to January 20th, the day of the supposed inauguration, the water is about at 212 degrees. Mars still in Cancer. The sun will conjoin Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius. We're going to come back and do conversation on that. But here we are in this big boiling pot right now of life. And so this is reminding that anything can float if the water moves enough and the temperature stays low. So if we can keep our cool and not let our engine run hot, make sure we got proper coolant to keep our engine from not running hot and our headers melt, and our engine lock up. We're being reminded to monitor our temperature and to not lock up our emotions, to dam them all up, compress them, press them down, suppress them. They need to have a healthy way to move and flow. And I'm trying not to stop, but there's so many little jewels in here I think that we can glean. Just here's another one. Another factor that strengthens water is shade. One day, Schauberger noticed that a natural stone arch, which had covered the wellspring of a healthy stream, had been removed, and the spring dried up almost completely. Only after rebuilding the arch did it begin to flow again. This, along with his observation of the way that vegetation tends to be distributed along watercourses, led Schauberger to formulate the hypothesis that water is sensitive to shade and to surrounding flora. Both the curvilinear aspect of most watercourses and the shade provided by vegetation along the banks that protects the water from direct sunlight ensure its natural flow at a low temperature, which in turn optimizes its strength and load-bearing capacity. Listen to this. Are y'all hearing what I'm hearing? This is water is sensitive to shade and to the surrounding flora. So water is sensitive to temperature because shade is going to regulate the temperature, and flora is talking about the environment. What environments are we putting ourselves in? We know we're not always able to just put ourselves in the most comfortable environment. Hey, you can go in the grocery store and there's a fool in there, or you go to the post office and some old miserable attendant up there with their face all tight, and you're gonna run into fools. But do you have an environment where you can recharge? Do you have some type of safe place where you can go and recharge your battery, whether it's your home or um, groups you associate with, or you know uh, other things you're involved in, something to recharge your battery, because water is sensitive to its environment, because the surrounding flora, whenever you hear the word surrounding, that immediately brings environment into the psyche, you know, and it's sensitive to shade. And when it is able to flow, when the temperature is regulated and it's in the right environment, it says it optimizes its strength and load bearing capacity. How many of us right now are feeling like we can't carry another ounce? If somebody add another gram to your load, you feel like I'm gonna collapse or I'm gonna explode. Or listen how the water is teaching us. You know, if I have a means to regulate, surround myself with the right type of energy, then, my ability to carry, my load bearing propensity goes higher. Water wants to flow this way, curving and creating these shaded banks to protect itself from direct sunlight. Schauberger applied his idea with great success. In the winter of 1918, he managed to transport 1,600 cubic meters of lumber in a single night down the mountains along a river running through an area considered to be absolutely impenetrable. Seemed to be impenetrable. Prince von Schomburg-Lippe owned tracts of forest split by steep canyons. None of the experts had ever succeeded in devising a system for bringing the lumber down to the valley until Schauberger put his theories on water motion to work. Originally excluded from the call for tenders by engineers and hydrologists who thought him incompetent, he was reconsidered when all of the technicians and university professors thoroughly failed to understand the problem, much less solve it. Beneath the scornful scowls of these experts, Schauberger built a wooden flume whose form, contradicting all logic, was neither rectilinear nor followed the shortest route of descent, but instead zigzagged. You listen to this. But instead zigzagged meanderingly down the mountainside for some 30 kilometers. So I want to show y'all something. It brings to mind the tree of life. And if you follow how the energy flows down from Kether, it flows down in a zigzag. It goes from Kether to Hokmah to Bina, then from Bina to Hesed, Gevurah, Tifereth, Netzik, Hod. So what is it doing? is zigzagging coming down. And this is also like how you step down power from the main transformer that brings in these thousands of megatons or megawatts or whatever that bring in that your home cannot handle. So it stepped down to a smaller transformer in your neighborhood. That is stepped down to your basic meter box. Your meter box is then stepped down to the respective outlets in your house that are set up based on the power demand of each outlet. And so it is zigzagged, it's step down. And so that same relationship between us and what we could say is the Almighty, the all in all, is played out with how water wants to move. And that movement, Kabbalistically, from Kether down to Malkuth, also is mimicked by the movement of the snake. And isn't it interesting that in Hebrew, the word for the serpent or snake, Nakash, has the same numeric value as the word for Mashiach. And Nakash, the way the story presents it to, maybe we could say the untrained eye, is that, oh, this is the evil. This is a serpent. This is the cause of sin. But that same value applies to the Redeemer. Very interesting. But instead, zigzagged meanderingly down the mountainside for some 50 kilometers. The curves of his flume followed the river itself rather than an abstract geometry, creating a spiral turbulence in water. Schauberger demonstrated how the biggest logs couldn't make it downriver without cold water. They would invariably jam and back up. Precisely what had happened to the technicians who preceded him. An ingenious system of valves allowed Schauberger to release quantities of water from the flume and substitute it with colder water from the adjacent river, thereby calibrating the temperature in keeping with his conviction that cold water was stronger. He even went so far as to claim that by cooling the water down, it was reinvigorated, recharged. Utter nonsense as far as the quote unquote experts were concerned. A trial run failed, and Schauberger concluded it was because the water's load-bearing capacity was insufficient and the flume too steep. But a snake of all things provided the Austrian inventor with a great insight the day before the official inauguration. As he studied his flume, he was startled by a snake which edged into the leg of his pants. He was unthinkingly flicked into the current with the toe of his boot. Schauberger was astounded to see the creature easily cross from one side to the other, despite the powerful current and steep incline. Watching the serpent utilize its sinuous, undulating movements to navigate the water's surface, he instantly understood what was missing from his flume. He had to build the curves so that the water passing through them would be agitated in such a way as to mimic the spiraling of the snake's progress. In short, his system had to imitate natural water courses even more faithfully. Water in its natural state shows us how it wants to flow, and we must obey its wishes. That deserves a reread. Water in its natural state shows us how it wants to flow, and we must obey its wishes. To everyone's amazement, the narrow curvilinear flume was a success, and from that moment, experts came from all over Europe to study its principles. Logging flumes were built according to Schauberger's directives in Austria, Yugoslavia, and Turkey. Elsewhere, people tried independently to imitate his method and failed. Even for the most advanced scientists, this was all a great technological mystery. Water had always seemed such a simple substance, yet here it was displaying bizarre behaviors that defied every assumption. Schauberger began observing the movements of fish in relation to those of water and became the first to demonstrate the connection between water temperature and the behavior of trout running upstream. Everyone knows that trout and salmon swim against the current to spawn, and the image we have is that of an arduous enterprise. The amazing truth, however, is that these aquatic creatures do it almost effortlessly, mile after mile. Schauberger explained why. Water of superior quality, the purest and healthiest, has a greater density and runs at the temperature of the so-called anomalous point of 4 degrees Celsius. It is at this temperature that the fish undertake their upstream run. Wow. He conducted further experiments with his assistants. One involved heating the parts of a river where trout tend to swim upstream at the same speed as the current and thus seem suspended in the water. He found that as the temperature rose, the fish darted further upstream to find colder water. He also was amazed at the ease with which these fish were able to jump waterfalls, observing that they did so without a spiral motion through a conical space created by the rivulets of a vortex. No scientist was able to explain the phenomenon. Schauberger deduced that the natural flow of the water creates an energy field that runs in the opposite direction to the current, and that the strength required to make these prodigious leaps against both current and gravity comes from a force present in the water itself. Whoa, 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 whoa. He also was amazed at the ease with which fish were able to jump waterfalls, observing that they did so with a spiral motion through a conical space created by the rivulets of a vortex. No scientist was able to explain the phenomenon. Schauberger deduced that the natural flow of the water creates an energy field that runs in the opposite direction to the current, and that the strength required to make these prodigious leaps against both current and gravity comes from a force present in the water itself. A confluence of temperature and vortex flow. Now we know metaphysically water correlates to emotion. And if you're an artist, you may have experienced this, that sometimes some of your best art, and I'm not just talking about visual art, it can be singing, it could be music, it could be sewing, it can be writing, whatever your craft, but your artistic expression, sometimes the best stuff comes in the most emotionally heavy periods of life. Sometimes if you have a bout of depression or just really feeling down and dejected or hopeless, sometimes it opens up something in your soul that you can't logically approach. It is through the emotion, whether it is elation or it is deep sadness, you know, but emotion seems to open up some type of vortex, and you tap into something that previously um was not there. So when he said this about this, it really made me think about that. When he said, you know, that in the water, there's a force present in the water itself. There's a force present in our emotions. You know, why is Chiron so important? Why, if you think about it, how can you heal unless you know what a wound is? And I was telling everybody in our class, we were talking, and I was like, your Chiron's one facet, but if you really think about it, your whole chart is a wound because life itself is a wound. And so we discovered that. Well, I suggest that the purpose of life is to cultivate wheat. But in that cultivation of wheat, it also includes healing. That the cultivation of wheat also includes healing, because that's part of the cultivation process. Life itself is the wound. And it takes sometimes to experience, like, how can you talk to somebody who going through some very tough times in life and difficulties? Now, you don't always have to have experience of exactly what they are experiencing. But if you ain't never had to struggle, if you ain't never really had to overcome something, everything was just given to you, how you gonna really be able to talk to somebody who down in the pits? How you gonna relate? You know? So there's something in that pain, and you think about what in Christianity say, that the whole concept of the passion of Christ. I was listening to some old stuff from 2004, like a comedy show, and they were talking about the Passion of Christ movie. And do we ever really think about what that means? The passion of Christ. Christ is the Son, but the passion of Christ is Scorpio. Because Scorpio is passion. And passion is the more evolved side of Mars. Because Mars in Aries is explorative. It is just assertive. It just wants to go forward. It wants to emerge out of the pool. It just wants to, hey, look at me. I exist. But by the time it gets to Scorpio, it's willing to die for something, really to die for what it loves. That's what passion is. Passion and pain and patience come from the same root family. To be passionate is to be willing to suffer pain. And through that, there's this potential for transformation, to go to this altered state of becoming something that wasn't there previously. I'm going all. I apologize if I ain't making sense, because I'm started on one thing and I drifted to this. I drifted. Let's see. According to Schauberger, These phenomena are the result of the cycloid spiral motion created by the water's turbulence. 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 The fish simply ride this natural countercurrent to facilitate their upstream journey. This shit is cooking. According to Schauberger, these phenomena are the result of the cycloid spiral motion created by the water's turbulence. Tony said, heartbreak for me as a writer. So heartbreak opened up some creative channel. And he's saying that the water's turbulence creates a vortex, a cycloid spiral motion. The fish simply ride this natural countercurrent to facilitate their upstream journey. My grandmother used to tell my grandmother, Capricorn, my mama got so mad. She say, struggle is good. It's good for people to struggle. And my mama was mad as hell. You think I'm gonna sit and watch one of my children struggle? And if I could have helped them? And now my mama be sitting saying, I understand now. Struggle is good because it will teach you how to ride the current. Struggle. My grandmother had another saying. She said, you better learn how to do. Simple. You better learn how to do. Whatever you got going on in your life, you better figure out how to work with it. You better figure out how to make it work for you. He said, the fish simply ride this natural countercurrent to facilitate their upstream journey. That's heavy. Schauberger liked to say that birds don't fly. They are flown by air currents. Just as fish do not swim, they are swum. Damn, it's 12:15. I got to wrap this up. Similarly, the heart does not pump, but is pumped by the continuous flow of blood. An ideal that Alexis Carrel, winner of the Nobel Prize for Medicine, had already proposed in 1912. If you know anything about Delbert Blair, that was one of, he used to recommend, I think Alexis Carrel wrote the book, Man the Unknown. And Delbert Blair he didn't give out a whole lot of books, but that's one of the few times he gave a list of books. Schauberger's credo was to understand and imitate nature. We can imagine him listening to water and what he might have heard. Watch how I move and where I go. Do as I do, and you will choose life. Imitate my movements, and you will be creative like me. For decades, the Austrian inventor analyzed natural creative motion, particularly spiral and cycloid motion. He even built machines that reproduce those movements with the aim of rendering water more vital. I'm finding new stuff to highlight while I'm reading. Experiments conducted in 1952 at the University of Stuttgart confirmed the existence of the flow patterns identified by the visionary forest warden. But it wasn't until the end of the 20th century, with his interest in chaos, vortices, and turbulence, that these phenomena became the subject of important scientific research. We will return to Schauberger's intuitions and discoveries in chapter 4. I'll stop there. So we read through the first section of chapter 1. and definitely some jewels in there. Definitely. This next section is titled Aqueous Anomalies. Nothing is impossible. Oh boy. What's that? 1, 2. I'm gonna tell you what. Let's see, because that's an intriguing subtitle. Aqueous Anomalies. Nothing is impossible. Let's see if I can stop doing the commentary. Okay, I'm gonna try to read. Water is omnipresent on the earth, and there is no other substance like it. Starting with the fact that water is the only compound that is found in nature in all three basic states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. Its form changes with extraordinary ease, and in doing so, it absorbs and contains an enormous quantity of energy. Gotta highlight that. Its form changes with extraordinary ease. Be malleable. What Bruce Lee say? Be water. Nor is there any other planet like the Earth, still the only watery planet we know of. And there is even more water than one might think. Oceans, rivers, and other bodies of water occupy about 70% of the planet's surface, a total volume of more than 500 million cubic kilometers, with an additional 5,000 kilometers cubed floats in the atmosphere, while an additional 500,000 kilometers cubed floats in the atmosphere in the form of vapor. But that's hardly all. The vast majority of Earth's water is hidden beneath the ground. In fact, the amount of underground water is 37 times greater than the surface water. Wow. One could say that water and the earth are bound by a sort of monogamous marriage, unique in the known universe. In addition to being the distinguishing constitutive element of the earth, water is also an active and powerful substance, having quite literally shaped our planet over millions of years, carving landscapes, sculpting valleys, modeling mountains. It has changed the course of rivers, dragging billions of tons of detritus and sediment over vast distances, constantly redrawing the profiles of coasts and continents. Given time, the delicate caress of water can become extraordinarily powerful. Given time, the delicate caress of water can become extraordinarily powerful. Wow. There are many more proofs of the invincible power of water, and one is its ability to dissolve any substance eventually. Here's the Neptunian quality, its ability to dissolve any substance eventually. Its solvent capacity. Neptune, the great solvent. Nearly half of the chemical elements on the earth exist in a dissolved state because water is so aggressive that over time it can corrode even the most resistant metal. Listen to that. Water can also penetrate living organisms, passing right through them, transforming tissues and solids, softening them. Through its solvent capacity, water reveals an ethical dimension as well, demonstrating how gentleness paired with constancy can make anything more malleable. Thinking like water, we can learn to tenderize our own character, soften rough edges and aggressive attitudes, both our own and others. When pushed to the edge of anger, think of the cooling, soothing effect of a cold shower, and you might save yourself and others from a harmful explosion. Water's erosive action on rock releases minerals and organic compounds that fertilize the soil and nourish plants. When it evaporates, it transfers essential elements such as sulfur and iodine from the sea to the air and thus back to the soil. Even rocks, then seemingly inert, participate in the vital cycle of life. Wow. The life-giving planetary process is called the hydrological cycle, and it's thanks to this that water is able to recycle itself. Oceans, lakes, and watercourses evaporate, and the water vapor condenses to form clouds, returning to Earth in the form of rain, snow, and hail. It then either remains on the surface or infiltrates the ground, called meteoric water, creating aquifers that then spring forth through the ground or the ocean floor, perpetuating the cycle. This planetary flow of water forms and transforms the Earth's crust and makes life possible for every organism, both plant and animal. It is our common source of health and survival. This guy's good at saying things in code, too. This planetary flow of water forms and transforms the Earth's crust. I want to say this, sidebar. In Hebrew, one of the words for earth is Adamah. So Adamah is just Adam with the hay added on the end. So one of the clues when Adam is mentioned, Adam is earth. Adam is man, but it also doubles as earth. So this planetary flow of water forms and transforms Earth's crust. We could substitute in there man's vessel, and even be more specific, the skin, and makes life possible, because we know the skin is what? The largest organ. Makes life possible for every organism, both plant and animal. It is our common source of health and survival. So, emotional health plays a very significant role in physical health. I got a book back there, but I don't feel like taking my headset off to get it. It is Metaphysical Anatomy, but it speaks to that. Yet the factors responsible for the presence of water on the earth are not entirely clear, and it is still a mystery how the amount was maintained more or less constant over billions of years. It was only in 1997 that instrumentation was able to confirm, to everyone's astonishment, that the American astronomer Louis Frank of the University of Iowa had been maintaining for years. Every minute, listen to this. Every minute, the Earth is bombarded by dozens of tons of water in the form of small comets made of ice. Small being a relative term insofar as they are as big as a house. These fiery aqueous objects appear between 600 and 5,000 and 15,000 miles from Earth at the rate of 5 to 30 per minute and can be seen from the ground. It is likely that these ice comets have been confused in the past with shooting stars, even with UFOs. They are most visible at twilight or just before dawn when they superheat and flare up for an instant before disintegrating. As incredible as it may seem, 1 million tons of water is hurled at the earth every day, and no one can explain where it comes from. Yet these big balls of ice are part of our lives. They vaporize upon impact with the atmosphere and therefore contribute to the rain that falls to earth. Didn't Lucifer fall from heaven? Of water that falls on us during a rainstorm and part of the groundwater we drink is actually extraterrestrial in origin. One more time. They vaporize upon impact with the atmosphere and therefore contribute. Also, this is how beautiful Hebrew is. The letter shin I've talked about. Shh. When you pronounce the word shin, it is shn. Shh. The nun on the end is nun, and nun means fish. So here's a clue that there's some water. But the shin, if you look at the shin, it looks like definitely looks like a flame, fire flame. So shin is arguably mimicking the sound of when two conflicting energies meet, water and fire. You take a hot frying pan and stick it into some dishwater. What is it going to shh? And when it finally stops and closes, that's when the nun shh. That's shin. And it's saying that when these comets are falling to earth, they vaporize. So for it to vaporize, that means that it has to be hit with this sudden increase in temperature that breaks it up. So to me, that is mimicking the shin, which the shin is giving us a clue as to what happens when spirit comes down into matter. Shh. Very interesting. They vaporize upon impact with the atmosphere and therefore contribute to the rain that falls to earth. Part of the water that falls on us during a rainstorm and part of the groundwater we drink is actually extraterrestrial in origin. The earth is nourished by water from outer space, like a living being quenching its thirst. Despite the abundance of scientific proof, Frank's discovery was met with skepticism by the majority of researchers because it forced science to revise assumptions considered certain, but which no longer hold up in the face of the new evidence. As we will see when examining other scientific controversies, ice comets are not the only phenomenon involving water that has sparked endless debate. And that's where we will stop it. I'm telling you, I think I love this book. One of my most treasured. And it's not an expensive book. I don't, at least the last time I checked. It is definitely something worth having in your library, especially right now as we are with such an emphasis on water here for the next 18 months. Put my bookmark in here so I know where I was at. Water, the exception is the rule. My man know how to he know how to give you some good subtitles. Good subtitles keep your book moving. You know, it takes away the monotony of it. But yeah, for those who might have joined late, I was reading from Water, Pure and Simple. So, excuse me, we will come back and I will pick up reading some more out of the book. And again, this is the lead up to the series the goddess behind the god. So putting it, because water is inevitably feminine, you know. It is the soft caress. It is the gentleness that it's the receptivity that is also can be as strong as a brick wall. You know, that's that feminine energy. And so we are immersed in this feminine energy with the North Node in Pisces, while ironically, the outer planets will be making their shift into what appear to be masculine signs of air and fire. But we're being reminded of where the energy is coming from. Yeah. So we'll continue the conversation. And I guess I do need to, run my commercial. Shit. You go over to my website and get yourself my bundle. I don't think I have one down here. A copy of my bundle. Feel like pulling all that out. You get my bundle, which has my layman's guide to manifestation. It's got my booklet, 2020 and the World to Come. It's got the free guide to Introduction to Reading Your Birth Chart. It is the 5 learning handouts, which are inevitably valuable. But all that's in my bundle. Got a 2025 forecast reading, natal chart reading, transit, solar return, synastry, all that available. 720astrology.com. Get over there and take a look and see what you can get over there to support your journey. And if you also want to buy me a book, then my Cash App will be in the description. If you just want to do some kingdom building, if you just want to say thank you for the drops, then I'm becoming less prideful and put my Cash App. Sister Natasha told me I need to start doing that, so I took heed. So if you want to purchase me a book, then you can show some love there. But other than that, it is 12:36, and normally let me see, we'll throw on something at the end, but I don't really know if there's anything to really let's see here if this is I don't know if they flagged my thing the last time when I played this. We'll try. I ain't gonna try to monetize it anyway.
Venezuela is dumping the dollar when it comes to official exchange transactions.
We did this in 2020. This was a little EP. We called it Global Reset. And this is I got a very talented artist that I work with. This is the cover for it that we created. Let's see. I don't know if it'll show. Huh. Let me see. It's not showing up. Oh, here it is. You know, we got in the background. I had them make it kind of look like the Matrix. You know, you got to go back and remember what all was going on in 2020. And we are still in that, you know, that window of kind of what it was introducing. You know, we're still seeing the fallout. So we're on our symbolism here with the global reset. And you see Mama here, and she's expecting. And this is the one where we did the song Milan Fashion Week. I think I explained the premise behind that on one of our past broadcasts. But yeah, this is the title. I guess you would say the title track. Global Reset.
Transactions and will now use the euro or other convertible currencies instead. The move is retaliation.
Tetragrammaton, Yod Hey Vahe. That's Big Ben and Lil Joe hit the hard way. Cross the tree of life, Sephiroth like Hardaway. Then find a lane where a three-way is a foreplay. The world to come is depending on what the words say. Holla Candy Man 5 times spirit parlays. In the play, overlay, overstand, underlay. Under may just be the top, that's what thought lay. That's the law of correspondence. Empty house, full mind, my thoughts is abundance. And pardon me, but the spirit is amongst us. And I'm about to pull libations, it's summons. Entities that are armies for my enemies. That are home, King Herod, he hardly understand what he's dealing with. I fight oddly. Southpaw, catch a right jaw. This global reset. Respect for the downtrodden rejects. We wreck anything that we intersect. Reset, globe trot, then we eject.
This is for Paul, Tony Grant, a former slave. Captive on his own land, skill hands made. Woodworker, craftsman, his trade. Pay way for new souls, a cascade. I'm a Robinson, Grant, Blakely, and Harrison. Four guardians all around me form a garrison. So spirit bursts when I converse. I thirst to touch the same light that was usurped. The globe is a oil field that so fire feels. Balance on the flat plain where men mount bill. And dark produce the light that is in the arc seal. Like the ditty in the belly of the bow steel. I lie, although it seems that I comply. I am that I am, fire chariot ride. God guts on the inside. Flail and crook ringing bell fry.
This global reset. Respect for the downtrodden rejects. We wreck anything that we intersect. Reset, globe trot, then we eject.
Okay, that was, let's see. This 12:42. Y'all want to hear one more? Let me know. Let's see. See what else I got in here. I don't have the other ones off of global. I think I got one more in here from that global reset. Let's see. We're going to play this. We'll close out with this.
This cloth, similar to Egyptian cotton, worn by an old Yemeni while salatin. The 5 pillars became the 5-finger discount. Stolen by lost souls, couldn't find a way out. Fortunately, she found fine linens in the 9th inning. A Roman centaur with his cohorts tried to tear her garments apart. Etruscan habit, ascot, like a ship captain, dry scotch. Rumor is she got family ties in Suma and Tulsa, okay, minus the sooner. Under the moonlit night, we serenade the goddess. Crooner, sidebar, the devil can't hurt you, only make you harm yourself. Kruger, mountain cougars, roam the west side of NC. Rugers, we're no longer juniors, we are seniors in our class. Eons have passed, shards of broken glass come together like satin threads. Milan Fashion Week. Yeah. On runways, guns blaze, cannons and Nikons, place images in cage. Onlookers express fake rage, so concerned about the fact she hasn't eaten in days. The price of high fashion. Eastern Germany handler keeps the dame dashing. Several factions clashing. They all want in on the action. Between wardrobe changes, the weight of the world leaves certain anguish. Jet setters dine on smoked salmon, rice, pilaf, and meat lawn. Red wine, dry blood drips on. Milan Fashion Week. Drugged in a residence, found face down and Trueless left no evidence. At least they thought so. They overlooked the peacoat, colored peacoat, the last trace of a royalty. The pedigree is obvious, a chaos is orderly. Awful paradox, still she loyally dredges on with the soil and flees. Plutonian, scorpionic, it's a jabs. Underworld, chthonic just below the Ave. Ma'ati in, Sabat and them, the bottom at the top again. Question is the ration fair you portion them? Probably not. Milan Fashion Week. She's so angry, that's how media label her. When she finally starts to stir, when her life's on review, the synagogue of Satan sits on the front pew. Always got a hand in every plot, hand in every pot, hand in the ass, prostate or not. Prostrate she will not. Apocalypse, this is her shot to balance scales. This won't be one hell of a story to tell. Milan Fashion Week. Milan Fashion Week. The best stories full of irony. Until the end it seemed that the victor would sink his ivories deeper in the flesh. Vital force sucked until there is nothing left. But then dramatic change ushers in a new era. The main character's revelation, no mascara. Under the gorgeous skin and beautiful grin lurks a fire that burns hotter than the scorching sand of arid desert land. In quiet, her soul draws nearer. She's surrounded by several mirrors. Through anger, sadness, and streaming tears, she cries, she scries. Divinating, there is no fear, just focused eyes. Kali Yuga, no more Uber. Instead, sweet chariots fly that are made from fire. So when chambers echo, she reply. Her fruit hangs low enough to reach high. Feet earth and head is sky. Arms stretch, oceans comply. Winds blow by, rustle leaves on trees. Every root, every stem through her breathes. Through every womb she conceives. Every thought that comes and leaves is her. So with the goddess we confer. And when we concur, it's all beautiful. Milan fashion with the throne is now suitable. Milan fashion week, the throne is now suitable. Milan fashion week, the throne is now suitable. Milan fashion week, the throne is now.
Thank y'all for rocking with me. Love and light, peace and power. Know the stars to know yourself. 720astrology.com. Peace.